Hi everyone, welcome to a special episode of A Stitch in Time. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry. As promised, here is a video outlining the ins and outs of the new Makealongs for 2024. First up is Smash the Stash 2024. This will be a year-long Makealong running from January 1st through December 31st, 2024. And it will run much like 2022's Year of the Stash and 2023's Another Year of Stash. In other words, it will be a year-long chatter thread in which more or less all you have to do to qualify for a prize is talk about what you're making from your stash. There are a few guidelines. Stash, for the purposes of this Makealong, is any yarn, pattern, or fiber acquired prior to 2024. It must be in your hot little hands before January 1st. So in other words, if you ordered a skein in December and it doesn't arrive until January, it doesn't qualify. Your projects can be knit, crocheted, woven, or spun. You can use a stashed pattern and make a project from new yarn. But if you are using stashed yarn, then it must comprise at least 50% of your project, stashed yarn or fiber, that is. So for instance, you could be making a sweater and run out of yarn and have to order a new skein. No problem. Maybe you're weaving a scarf and you want to do the warp out of stashed yarn, but you have this great new yarn you want to use as the weft. No problem, as long as the warp takes up at least 50% of your project. Maybe you're spinning and you have a new bat and an old bat and you want to ply them together. No problem, as long as you're using at least 50% of old stash. WIPs count, works in progress count. So maybe you have some projects left over from 2023 or earlier. Yes, I'm looking at myself. Feel free to include those in this year's Makealong. Prizes this year will be awarded on a quarterly basis. So January, February, March, the prize winner will be announced in the first regular episode of A Stitch in Time in April of 2024, and then the following months. So April to June will be announced in July, July to September announced in October, October to December announced in the first regular episode of January 2025. I do not announce the prize winners anywhere else, so you have to make sure you watch those episodes at a minimum. Hopefully you watch them all, but at least check out those episodes to see if you're a winner, if you have participated in that quarter. And finally, you must be a member of the A Stitch in Time Podcast Ravelry group to qualify. If you're looking for a more structured Makealong with a few more rules and guidelines, then I've got you covered. In 2024, I will be hosting a series of 4 quarterly Makealongs, each focusing on a different type of project. From January to March, it will be sweater weather. This Makealong will also include other types of major garments, including vests, ponchos, skirts, and dresses. Then from April to June, it will be time to accessorize it with hats, mittens, fingerless mitts, gloves, scarves, cowls, and shawls. I figured we'd need smaller, more portable projects for the summertime, and so from July to September, it will be time to rock your socks. This Makealong will include other types of footwear too, such as slippers and leg warmers. Okay, I know leg warmers aren't technically footwear, and I don't even know if anyone wears them anymore, but I thought I would include them. And then finally, I thought we needed something a little more relaxed for the last quarter of the year, what with the holidays and all. And so the quarterly make-along from October to December will be all of the above. In other words, any of the types of projects that were included in the first 3 quarters make-alongs. All of the make-alongs will follow the same basic format, but there will be a few rules and guidelines specific to each quarter. So here's how it's going to work. Every make-along will have 2 threads, a chatter thread and a finished projects or FO thread. When you begin a project, you will create a starting post in the chatter thread that includes both a picture of your started project and a link to your project page. When you finish that project, you will create an FO post in the FO thread, which will include the starting post number from the chatter thread, a picture of your finished project, and a link to your project page. This is a way for me to ensure that the projects have been begun and finished within the specified time frame. Unlike the 2023 Yarn of the Month Club, new yarn will be permitted for the 2024 make-alongs, although of course you are always encouraged and permitted to use stash yarn. Items may be knit, crocheted, or woven, and projects must be begun and finished within the quarter. The only exception to this is major garments. In this case, works in progress will be permitted, but they have to be less than 50% completed. Socks must be adult sized, although shorties are permitted. I know we all have different preferences when it comes to the length of our sock legs. In any case, however, you must make a complete pair. Same goes for mittens, fingerless mitts, gloves, anything that comes in a pair, there needs to be 2. For smaller items, there will be a minimum yardage requirement of 50 yards. This will encompass all but the smallest baby hats, socks, and mitts. Multiple entries are okay. You are permitted and encouraged to finish as many items as you like. Prizes will be drawn quarterly, 1 from the chatter thread and 1 from the finished projects thread. And they will be announced in the first regular episode of the following month. So again, for the January to March quarter, the winner will be announced in the first regular episode of A Stitch in Time in April. And that's the only place that the prizes will be announced. And again, you must be a member of the A Stitch in Time Podcast Ravelry group to win. I know not everyone's on Ravelry, but for me, this is the easiest, most efficient way for me to run a make-along. And this is a hobby for me, not a job. And so I want to make it work for me the best way I can, while at the same time establishing and fostering a sense of community. So I hope you understand that. I welcome any questions. What I'm going to do is post this video in its own thread in the Ravelry group, and that will provide a place for you to ask any questions. Whenever I start thinking through make-alongs, there's inevitably something I don't think of, something I miss. So maybe it's a type of garment that might fit into the sweater weather portion, or maybe a type of accessory I didn't mention that would work for the accessorize portion. You get the drill. So feel free to ask those questions so that I can clarify all of the rules and guidelines. And with that in mind, keep in mind that what I've described today as far as rules and guidelines are subject to change. Once I've heard back from people and who may or may not raise issues I haven't thought about, then I will finalize those rules and guidelines, and they will be posted in the first post of each of the quarterly Makealongs for reference. So I am looking forward to another year of making along with you, and I hope you are too. Yes, any questions, feel free to ask them and I'll address them as quickly as I can. Take care, everyone. I hope to see you in the new Makealongs in 2024.